It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be back. It's good to see everybody after a long week.
You too.
Been forever.
We're podcasting. All right, I suppose we should do introductions. Whoever wants to start.
Here, I'll go. Hi, I'm Elsa Hura.
I'm Peter Lawrence.
I'm Chad Jetner, and if you hear any squeaking in the background, that's Otis, my dog. That's
excellent.
Thank you, Otis.
Thanks for being here, Otis.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
Kyle
responsible.
Bacher.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kyle.
I'm Kyle Bacher. That's all I wanted to say. Today we're going to talk about patience.
That thing that I am demonstrating in spades. So
Kyle looks like he's demonstrating patience too.
This will be a good learning opportunity.
Yes, I am inherently, to my core, the most impatient person. And I have people that will attest to that. So if you need me to get signatures or something, I can do that.
Nope.
So I have to actively exercise patience. So what is patience, Peter?
Patience is allowing things to proceed at a pace that is not the one that you want. Generally, especially in consulting, right? Like things almost never happen as fast as you want them to happen, especially in consulting, especially in starting a new gig, ending a new gig, all of those things, they all require patience.
I think it's one of the greatest of virtues.
It is a virtue for some reason.
Because there's a lot of value to it. Like waiting for the soft cover to come out of a book you've been waiting for instead of paying 3 times as much for a hardcover book. That requires patience and saves you money.
Well, it's the marshmallow test that is kind of a psychological test that scientists have done with toddlers and young kids for years where, okay, here's a marshmallow on a plate and you can either eat it now or you can wait 5, 10, 15 minutes and you can get another one.
They did that to me when I was a kid, and by the time they had said, there's a marshmallow, I had already eaten it, and it was all over with. I failed every marshmallow test in life. Chad, when is patience a bad thing?
Oh man, so many times. It's sometimes a bad thing when patience and deadlines kind of conflict, right? So if you're on a project and you have hard constraints around time, patience is no longer a virtue. And you've got to deal with that in different ways. Right, Otis? That's right. I have had that a handful of times, right? Where, yes, you'd love to be patient. You'd love to wait for requirements to be fully fleshed out. But you also realize that, there's delivery dates, and those sometimes are fixed, and sometimes they're make-believe, like nice to haves, but other times, for other reasons, there are specific reasons around specific timings, and you can't be patient, right? And you have to move. Somebody has to have their foot on the gas. And for the folks that are patient, that's where you get some conflict, which I think was episode 25. I forget. I don't know the actual episode.
Elle, are you a patient person?
Goodness, no. And I think that's something that for me going into consulting, and maybe for some other people too, is this is the perfect career for people who aren't patient, because you can go from one project to another project to another project, and you don't have to sit around, or at least that's the idea that you have in your head. Is that the case? No, of course not. The thing that I am horrifically impatient. What I try to keep in mind is typically patience comes in handy whenever something is not dependent on one person only. As soon as you need to get a team on board, or you need to get different components of your application talking to each other, or multiple pieces of software installed on your client laptop, that's when you start to need patience. Some of those times I will be grumpy about it. I'm better than I used to be, but it takes practice for me to at least get better at it than I have been.
I think there's a part of it, Elle, where like we like to spend our clients' money efficiently. I mean, we do bill by the hour, so
Yep.
you know, we can be patient, but it's our patience is costing our friends money, and so I tend to be less patient, specific for the same reasons that you just mentioned, right? I don't want to be waiting around doing nothing for you while I wait for, you know, credentials or software or anything. So it's better for you. It's better for our clients if we're a little less patient than maybe an employee might be.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's a good distinction to point out is kind of teasing apart, okay, when is it good for me to be impatient because we just need to get the ball rolling? I don't want to be wasting your money, versus times when I think patience is good, where and the situations I'm thinking of are when you want to convince your team or a broader group within your client to go in a different direction. And when you're trying to change minds and not just get stuff done, that takes longer because people don't like being told what to do. People like it when they feel they've had agency in the decision or they've come to it on their own. And that can take a lot more time. So yeah, no, I'm glad you called that out, Chad.
I like that. That makes sense. You know, the whole I'm going to slowly introduce something that I want to change rather than I'm going to try to ram this entire change down everyone's throats. And I'm sure they'll be happy once we
They'll
get
be so
done.
grateful.
Yes, they'll all be happy how it went. Said no one ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be patient with people. You know, like I'm in a support role. I'm there to help people. So I need to have empathy and compassion and understanding and patience if I'm going to make their lives easier. And because not everybody is technical.
Yeah.
And some people literally have a aura that interferes with technology and causes problems to happen. There's just some people that just, I don't know what it is. It just does not agree with them. And I have an aura where I sit down and things somehow begin working. And I'm like the mechanic when you bring your car in, that the sound doesn't happen and stuff like that.
Right.
But no, patience. Yeah, it's having a sense of urgency doesn't mean you're being impatient. You know, it's like
Good point.
because there's just stuff that's got to get done. And it's like, well, I'm not being impatient. I just want this stuff to get done because it needs to get done. I'm impatient with companies that are providing me tech support. If they're not responsive, you know, responsiveness really gets me. Like when I send somebody a message on Slack, I'm staring at it, waiting for them to respond.
Peter Lawrence is typing.
Yeah. I usually
that's
just hit the
first.
space bar a couple of times and let them think that I'm typing, but then go away for a while.
I do wish Slack had read receipts enabled by default if it's not a feature. Teams has that. So
That
I
would
can actually
help.
see, like, I know you saw it.
What I want is the no response. I can't respond at the moment. I will be able to respond tomorrow or later on this afternoon, or give me a few minutes. Because that helps set my expectations. And then I'm not feeling that, urgency and pressure. And because patience really is about delaying gratification and accepting the delay, accepting the suffering that's happening.
It's not about searching the room
Not
for extra
necessarily
marshmallows.
about, it's not necessarily about eliminating it. It's about enduring it, you know.
Well, and putting limits on it, right? Like if you know somebody's going to
Mhm.
respond, but not for 2 hours, then you can not think about it for 2 hours rather than staring, waiting for a response for 2 hours because you didn't know how long they were going to wait or how long they were going to delay. Helps a little bit.
I do have an example. Like, I try to be patient with, especially with service industry, but I did have to make reservations for 30 people for Monday night, unexpectedly recently. And I'm not patient enough when I only have short notice to say, oh, yeah, no, I can wait for you to get back to me. I mean, 48 hours is fine. No. I mean, do you have room for 30 people on Monday? And if you don't, please let me know, like, immediately, so that I can call the next person. And that's the, like, again, like, deadlines are the only things that make me really, truly not patient anymore, because you can't really do anything about a fixed point in time that you have to have something done by. So I can't sit and twiddle my thumbs to wait for somebody.
So
But
if you
outside of
have
that,
if someone else is setting the deadline for you and it's too far out, how do you handle that check? Because I'm thinking, like, then you have to wait patiently for a deadline that maybe you don't like.
yeah. I mean, if they have to set a deadline, so if I have a deadline that's way far in the future,
Mhm.
that actually almost scares me as much as one that's like right in front of me, because I know I'm super patient, and I know that is sometimes detrimental to getting things done, getting things delivered. So I tend to, in those cases, I tend to set, intermediate deadline, like little milestones here and there that we push towards, so that I don't let my abundance of patience get in the way of delivering. And this is what Agile does really well, right? Like, one of the core tent poles is, like, the best judge of a team is, like, I can't recite it by memory, but delivering actual software is the best metric that you can have against a successful software project, right? So
Working software, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Peter. I knew that was something like that. And so, yeah, they'll keep delivering working software on a cadence. Show it off, there you go. That's how you handle these way out there deadlines that procrastinators love and then hate for abruptly.
Well, and I think that's what's really kind of doomed sort of waterfall to, get pushed out of the way by Agile, right? Is that there are or have been long histories of of long projects where things didn't get exciting until the last 2 months. Then everybody cared so much about the project being close to late or might be late or anything like that, right? Where, if it's a 9-month project and you're only going to care about the last 2 months, well, guess what? Nobody else is going to make, really hurried decisions along the way either. They're going to wait until those 7 months of patient waiting and then hit the same panic button that you are.
Yeah, I don't like it when lack of patience that I can't control impacts people outside of me, right? Like, so if I need something from another team at a client, and somebody else is being impatient about a widget or whatever, and that widget has a dependency on this guy. I hate pushing anybody else. Like, I hate the transitive properties of impatience. Right? Like, I don't want to pass that on to another guy that I'm actually going to need something from in the future, because then I look like a goofball.
Right.
I don't know.
It is challenging, especially in a consulting role, right? To go and ask for these things to be delivered by, and you know, in a reasonable amount of time, or you know, demand these things in a specified amount of time.
Well, and as you're kind of getting to know how people work too, sometimes that involves doing a couple rounds of, okay, I'm going to adjust my, like, I love the idea of connecting patients and setting expectations, because like there are times when I haven't worked with this person before. I'm going to send them an email. I'll try and give them, you know, here's when I would like to hear back. And then I don't hear anything, and I try one more, like, maybe you were out. But then, you know, like that third time, you're like, okay, come on, chop, let's,
Yeah.
how do I move this forward?
You need the biography of the person. I respond well
Yes.
to frequent asks for and prompts for answers.
Exactly.
I will ignore many things otherwise.
Yeah. If you send me a small novel in an email, I will never read it. But if you send me 20 separate chat messages, that'll get the job done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I used to put Easter eggs in long emails at the bottom. If you got this far, reply with the word flabbergasted, and I will send you a $10 gift card for Caribou. And out of 100 people, I'd be shelling out 10 gift cards. It's like, so some of those people read all the way and didn't want to play my stupid game, and some of those people didn't read all the way. So now I write the email, then I write the TLDR, and then I delete the email and I just send the TLDR. I think people appreciate that and read it more often.
Yes, absolutely.
I had
Chad
something
doesn't
on
read
the tip
email.
of my tongue. I honestly, I don't. It bit me a couple. I mean, I really don't that much anymore. I once a day, right? I'll read them in the morning. But then throughout the day, we are so interrupt driven through Teams, Slack, text messages, everything else, that email is now the least. You'd have a better chance calling me on the telephone than emailing me and getting a response. I do like seeing, speaking of patients and how people handle like these interrupt driven, impatient people, modern like solutions to those problems, like turning off read receipts is a solution to dealing with impatient people, I think. I wouldn't do it, but I've seen it done. Or, you know, setting your status to constantly out of office, or not out of office, but
Do not disturb.
offline.
Appear
Yeah,
away.
like-
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that stuff is I'm learning a lot watching folks in larger organizations, like high contact folks that have tons of customers, seeing how they like handle all of these interrupts and everything else. It's interesting. I don't know that I could get away with doing any of them, but I do enjoy watching the show.
So do you think having Slack and Teams and whatever else available to us, text messages, has helped with patience, or sort of made people more impatient because, well, I texted you, that meant I needed a response right now, and you didn't respond, even though your phone was in another room?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to, like, I think it depends on the person. I mean, folks know that I always have my phone like literally within, I think it's not uncommon for almost everybody to have it right in front of them and to realize that we know they see the messages, right? Even if
Right.
they don't open the text message, and which triggers the read receipt, which, yeah. I don't know.
I
don't
think
have a
read
computer.
receipts are duplicitous. I think they're evil. And if somebody requests a read receipt, I never say yes. I don't want to play your game. Trust that I'm an adult and I'm going to read stuff when I should read stuff and respond when I'm going to respond. And yeah, don't do the read receipt and then CC my entire upper management chain and my mother to make sure I get back to you in enough time. Yeah.
Your mom is very prompt. That's all I'm going to say.
She is very prompt, and she will call me and be like, I saw this email. Are you on top of that? I'm like, yeah, I'm on top of it. No, I think I need to be available because I deal with, I help people with issues. They reach out to me if they have a problem. I turn my computer on and 2 issues this morning that I had to deal with for the first hour of my day that I was not expecting.
Unplanned.
Oh, this thing's not working. This other thing's not working. And so, you got to be patient. Like, okay, this is not what I planned to do with my day. This is not how I wanted to start it. So I'm already unhappy. And these problems are happening and they affect 3 other people now. And possibly more if I don't do something about it. But while that's happening, other people are reaching out with questions and things like that. So I have a huge sense of urgency when it comes to helping people. And it's like a game with me to see how quickly I can do it. And if I look at a question and it's like, oh, shoot, this was 45 minutes ago, I feel like I failed. And when the other person is like just expecting something back today, this week is fine. So I'm impatient with myself more than other people. I think.
So the act of adding a read receipt and your chain of command is an act of an impatient person, generally speaking, is what we'd say. And
yeah.
they're really looking for immediate response.
Yes. They want to be put at the top of your list of priorities.
Yeah, I would say it's either an impatient thing or a power dynamic thing where someone wants everyone to know that they are being heard.
Yeah.
One thing as Kyle, you were talking about, whether you're patient with yourself versus with other people. Peter, I'm curious, because we've been talking about patience basically from an interpersonal perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I tend to have significantly more patience when coding because it's just fun. And there are times like you get a problem where you're just like, yes, I get to chew on this for a while. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just going to play with it in my head for a while. That is a weird realm where I find I do have more patience. What does patience look like when you're doing your like focused solo coding?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about that today also. Like, well, is it patience or just stubbornness if I'm working on a problem longer than I expected and should have turned to someone for help real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I know so and so can help me with this. I should ask them. But I really want and I think we've all coded to the point where we're like, I feel like I'm getting closer to the solution rather than I feel like I'm just running in small circles here and not making any progress.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm working towards a solution, I feel like I've got a lot of patience there that I will continue moving forward and trying to get to that finish line by myself or, and you're right. It's a very patient thing, like something I wouldn't think of having patience for.
Yeah,
But
or just sometimes you're like, okay, I know I just need to go to sleep and I'll know the answer tomorrow morning.
oh, those are the best when the
Yeah.
answer comes to you in a dream.
Oh,
You're suffering
glorious.
from too much perseverance.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have to debug other people's code?
I love debugging other people's code.
Really? Okay.
Oh,
Why?
Yeah.
What's fun
because
about
something's broken. I didn't do it, and I can fix it. I mean,
it?
I like debugging my own code too. Don't get me wrong, but just helping someone. It's like all those things where, like, oh, I've spotted the missing semicolon in your code. This is super easy. I recognize this pattern, and there's the answer for you. To, wow, I really don't know why this isn't working. Let's learn together how this is working and why it's not producing the result we want, right? And those are, yeah. I would rather take apart the toy than play with the toy half the time. You know, I think I'll just take this apart and maybe I'll put it back together. Maybe I won't. But I do see how it works now.
I love that.
Do you get impatient with like other people's bugs when you're doing that?
If I've asked them to fix it and they've chosen not to, yeah, that's a test of my patience. But
I do when they're related to configurations where just, oh, this is a network issue. I can't change the firewalls.
Yeah. I'm going to sit on my hands and wait for others to help me. And that does take a lot of patience for sure. You know,
I only get impatient when it revolve like when it's all about theatrics or strongly held beliefs or opinions, then that's when I lose patience. I'm like, okay, right? Like you have this thing that you've done before, or this is how you've always done it, or whatever. And we both approach the same problem differently, like auditing information for a database, right? How do you add timestamps and last update data, like basic patterns that do have multiple solutions, right?
Multiple correct answers. Yes.
Multiple correct answers. Yeah. And I get impatient with folks that put their idea on this pedestal that really you can't throw a stone. Like, come on, just relax, right? Like it's a timestamp, or it's this, or it's that, or it's a DTO or a domain out. Like, let's not argue about something where we've all got right answers and now we're just arguing for argument's sake. Like I don't handle those conversations as well. And yes, there's best practices and there's multiple best practice answers to the same question. Pick one. And who gives a crap? If it's not right, who cares, right? We'll fix it. We'll fix it in post, I think is what the theater kids say.
So is it because they're not helping, you're trying to guide them to your answer, or they're just really holding on to their answer, even though it may not be as correct?
A little column A, a little column B, and then column C is really just like we're moving forward, right? Like we're not going to be super pedantic about silly things just for the sake of being pedantic, right? Like there's timelines, there's deadlines, there's all of these pressures, and then there's a first person that wants to really bad use this library that conflicts with the one the other guy picked, and they're arguing. Like, come on, let's just do a thing, be done with it, and move on to actual work that impacts our customers. They don't care about DTOs. They don't care about how we implement timestamps. They don't care about a lot of this stuff.
No.
I'm imagining Chad in the room, just in his head thinking, wonder how long it's going to take before we get to something that matters. A lot of commotion, a lot of talk, a lot of stuff, debating, posturing, ego, whatever. Like it's all a waste of time. It's all like, if I could go back and fine tune my younger self. It's like, yeah, focus
not
on
care
what
as much.
matters.
Might not care as much about that one thing that you really did care about and
Yeah.
have totally forgotten about.
Yes,
Never happens.
never.
Yeah, for procrastinators, you're gonna wish that you didn't have that, 2 full day argument about,
Hmm.
response objects when there were multiple right answers, right?
Right.
Like you would like those 16 hours back to do something more, like something that pushes forward. And that's some like a touch of impatience maybe, but like also it gets things done.
Well, and I think
That's kind
your
of
role,
what we're here
your-
for.
your role, Chad, kind of gets you to that impatience though, because you're sort of in that leadership. And if you have two conflicting opinions, you're the deciding vote. So you get to be like, okay, I've let you both state your case. And now we're going to go do this, either A or B or my way, C. We're going to, go and do that.
Or I just come up with bring a laser pointer to the conversation and distract people on this new shiny thing, like cats, like go jump at this, all right? And then I'm just slowly move that forward, and then we've got something else to worry about. Yeah, that stuff gets me.
It's a challenge. I think as a consultant, it's a little bit easier because you don't get as hung up in some of those things because like I'm going to be gone in a while. So if you guys choose to do this, that's fine, but I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, I care.
Yep.
Up to the point where you make it painful for me to care.
Right.
Mm.
And
Yep.
then I can be easily convinced to not care at some point. There's a certain level of like, I care, I'm passionate, I really want to make something happen. That's great. And it's rewarding for the customer, it's rewarding for the team and the developers that are building the thing. But if it gets to the point where like the argument is a bigger part of the problem than the problem itself,
Right.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oftentimes asking someone, is this really what you care strongly about? Do you really timestamps is what you care strongly about? Okay. You're in charge of all timestamps from now on.
Yeah. We just
And-
had a $500 meeting about saving
Yeah.
$100.
Right.
I actually have that idea for a plugin to Teams where it just everybody's region and everybody's role and everybody's average salary for that role in the region just puts a number up in the top right corner, right? A dollar amount.
Small scroller.
Every minute. Yep. It's just kind of like, little stock ticker. Here's how much this is costing you. You want to keep going? And then like everybody has to agree to keep going. Yes, let's keep going. We're good spending this.
Every 5 minutes, we're going to keep agreeing to spend more money,
Yeah.
knowing the total for the last 5 minutes. Yeah, it might change some people's minds, that's for sure. It might not change some people's minds, which is even funnier, right? Like, yep, I'll hit that yes button all day long. Don't care.
Yeah, I don't think it's being impatient when it's time, when you've given things their due. You've given it time to work itself out. You've given people time, and then it's like, okay, I have to act. Like hesitation can be very, very bad. And that's kind of in opposition to patience. It's like, okay, I'm trying to be patient, or am I hesitating? Because if I hesitate, then I've allowed too much time to pass versus just being patient and allowing sufficient time to pass.
Well, and there's also, patience has a direct relationship to your relationship with other people, right? Like, I don't know that impatient people are necessarily not fun to be around, but also like,
What are you trying to say, Chad?
I'm trying to dig myself out of the hole as I have a shovel in my hand. But if you're consistently impatient, that affects your relationship with the person pressuring, that you're putting pressure on. If the patience revolves around, people.
Mhm.
And as a person that needs to work with people and have people work with me constantly, consistently being impatient with people that I'm going to be spending a year with or 2 years with is going to make that a tense, interaction after a time. And so you sometimes just have to take your foot off the gas and, listen to some Enya, sail away and relax. And it's fine.
So
Everything will
I
be
think
fine.
there's the reverse too, because yeah, I think Chad, you're absolutely right. There you have to consider how your own subjective patience has an impact on other people and how they perceive it. Kyle, I would imagine there have been a number of times where you've almost had to do the reverse, where you've had to guide other people into patience as they're saying, my computer is broken, or I can't find this document, or where is the plug for our projector? Is that fair? Like what tools have you employed to try and help other people be patient?
Well, there's a few people I know that I've kind of coached on patience, and it's okay. Um, Things take time,
Hmm.
and the time you expect something to happen and the time it actually happens are not in sync. You're expecting something to happen in a year, and it's going to take 2 years. Um, everything you're working toward, everything you've been driving toward is getting done. It's just not getting done as fast as you want it to. So maybe it's okay, I need to extend my expectations by this amount. When it comes to, like, I hate the word user. Um, when it comes to helping the users, no, when it comes the people that I care for, like, it's more than just the problem I'm trying to take care of. It's like talking them down from the ledge, and um, people make mistakes, and some are really simple mistakes. Some are things that should be obvious, but they just missed it. It happens all the time, and it doesn't matter how smart somebody is. Um, so when they call me, they usually are like just punishing themselves. Oh, I'm really sorry. Or if they made a big deal out of something and it turned out to be a really simple answer that was staring them right in the face, and they feel bad about it. They feel like they've wasted your time. So I try to make them not feel that way. It's like, oh no, it happens. People make mistakes. Um, Maybe if you didn't have 2 logins, Peter, then you'd
I
see the
know.
Captain stuff when you went into Azure this morning.
I would remember that.
Totally threw him under the bus just now.
Yep. And I deserved it. It was a
Yeah.
quick answer.
But it's an occasional use issue. It's like once a year I need to do this. And sometimes it's just clarifying, that to people, that this is a thing that's really easy to mess up, or it's a common mistake that's really easy to make and everybody makes it. So I usually just take it, like if there's any punishment, I'll just try to take it. And if I'm upset about it, because I do get impatient, and I do get, like, sometimes I'm just shaking my head. I have bad days too, and I get frustrated and things like that, but I try to keep that to myself.
You're not allowed to have bad days helping people, right?
It doesn't help them. Like, they're not there to help me fix my day. I'm here to help them fix their problem. So, but I do like to chit chat and do some of that. And but then that can get into time wasting. Like, yeah, I made you laugh for 15 minutes, but that's 15 minutes of your time and my time. So I've tried to cut down on the jokes because I have a machine in my head that just thinks of a comeback for everything.
Right.
And so every Slack message I see, there's a joke there. It's not always a good one, but it's like my impulse to try to be funny all the time, like overcoming that and going, okay, there's a cost to this. Like, I'm distracting. I don't need to do this all the time.
I love deleting them. They're my favorite. Type it all out, get it all out there, read it over. Yep, that's what I wanted to say.
Kyle is typing. Kyle is typing. Kyle is typing. Kyle didn't type anything. They're just waiting. What's he gonna say? What's he gonna say? Yeah. Chad, I know that you don't like time wasting.
I don't mind time wasting. Well, here's the thing. I just depending on the number of external stressors on my own time from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. when I'm working, I have these core hours, and interruptions to those core hours are can be stressful sometimes, especially when I see things stacking up over here, and I know that if I don't keep on top of the stack, it's just going to get larger. So, yeah, time wasters. I don't hate them, but at the same time, and I think Al and Peter, we can be on very, very strict schedules. So, if we're having a meeting, I have a hard start, or I won't be there until exactly the minute, and I have a hard stop at this time. So if you want to have a discussion with me in between those times, let's go. And then if there's time at the end, we can joke around or whatever. But that's the only part. I don't hate time wasters. I just have different pulls on my time, and if it comes out, and that might be that might show up as impatience, maybe. If it does, I hope it's not too offensive, but for example.
So, like, talking about sports for some people is not a time waster, and for others it's a test of patience, right?
Huge time waster. So, an example, sitting watching Star Trek. My dad comes downstairs. I'm like 10 years old. He's like, why are you wasting your time sitting on your butt all blah, blah, blah. Give me a hard time because I'm watching this show.
Mm-hmm.
But then he watches 100 hours of sports, and he's got sports going on the radio. It's just sports. He was a football coach, and like the whole rest of my family, they're really into sports. And I just, at some point I went the other way.
They poked you a little bit off path, and you ended up in Star Trek and that universe instead of the sports one.
Yeah.
You still know the stats, you still keep track of the things, but
yeah, it's like, why is my time wasting worse than your time wasting? You're wasting way more time. No, I think it's endurance, it's patience, it's, allowing pain to persist.
Well, and it's
So I got a question
understanding
for you.
that people have different perspectives and priorities too. Just, okay, if I understand that, Chad, you need to get to the Twins game, I may not care about the twins, but I can be patient about where your priorities are at because I know I want to have a healthy interactive relationship with you. That involves just understanding that, hey, guess what? We're different people.
Sometimes Chad's going to go to a Twins game and he's going to have fun
Yeah,
and
which is great.
build teams.
It
But
matters
Peter-
to me that something's important to you. That matters to me,
Yeah.
even though what you think is important doesn't really matter to me. It matters to me that you think it's important. So, it's like, I'll allow it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because I think in a previous, were we talking about the usefulness of happy hours, or maybe it was team building? But Chad, how you just called out that you have, I have this notebook of just notes about the different people that I work with, and that
Mhm.
could very easily be viewed as, wow, you're just wasting time getting all up in other people's business instead of creating our next application for your client. But there is absolutely a value to that because then that helps build relationships to interact with people and to understand where they're coming from and what might be important and what isn't important, and which
Yeah.
ultimately makes for a better team and more productive in the long term.
Yeah, that drives me nuts. So I keep I know it's not the right technical term, but it's a tickler file on the team, right? Everybody's got a tab. And I'm forgetful, so I put in things there like um, their wife's name, their dog's name, their kids' names, the age of the kids, what year in school they are, what they like to drink. That's an important one for me. Is like when I go to happy hour, and if somebody is consistent, I like to know
Sparkling
that.
or still water. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Green
Is
belt or
it
green belt?
Yeah.
yeah, gray goose or gray duck? Do you have a preference on vodkas? I like to know all of this stuff, and I like to remember. And it's one of those tiny, tiny little things that I don't think it's a waste of time to know the people that you're working with. Um, and I get frustrated when people don't make the effort. It's for me, it's kind of indicative of not. I know we're supposed to be talking about patience, but it's indicative of a different kind of problem. That that also needs solving in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's helped me with patience is like dealing with the things that bother me to make me feel impatient. I think like releasing control, like just letting go of the idea that you need to control other people or anything, changing expectations. There's a lot of things you can do that reduce the pain of waiting, the pain of the time passing. You're waiting for this movie to come out because they released a trailer a year and a half in advance. And it's like every day thinking about it. Wow, I really want to see this. It's like, well, it's going to happen. So just forget about it and just know it's going to happen. And then it happens. And, yeah, it's like a lot less stressful that way, waiting for that. But there's a reward for patience in a lot of ways. There's even a financial reward.
Get an extra marshmallow.
Something that costs less. When it hits the TV network, yeah, they got rid of all the swear words, but it didn't cost me anything to watch it. So
So my question was going to be, Kyle, do you think you could leave the proverbial marshmallow on the table now?
yeah, because I do. I leave a lot of marshmallows on the table. But so, it depends on the marshmallow. Is it, a big marshmallow or is it the little tiny ones?
Big
How many
marshmallow.
marshmallows we talking about here? Yeah, delaying gratification and just discipline in general all have rewards.
Well, I
And
think-
it's like if you have a problem with that stuff, like that's what you need to be working on. So I work on that a lot.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of just been talking a lot about how it's important to examine the benefits and utility of patience, because there are times when absolutely it will pay off. You'll communicate better with other people, or you will get a better long-term result, a better deal. There are other times when no, don't be patient because you're actually blocking the result that you want. Yeah, Kyle, I'm just going to keep in my head with urgency is not the same thing as impatience. That's my favorite thing you said today. So thank you for that.
Awesome. You're welcome. I'm glad I said something good finally. How long have you been doing this? Chad, any parting thoughts? We're about 5 minutes away.
Last night I watched a football game. It was tied 9-9, and it had to go into overtime. I was patiently waiting for a touchdown to happen, or anything to happen, really. Literally anything at all, anything. I was let down. Go to bed early.
I would say that experience tends to lead you to become more patient about some things and understanding which things you need to be patient about and which things, as consultants and as people in the workplace, you get a better filter or a better understanding which things you can wait for, which things you can't. Waiting for that touchdown, waiting for that software install. It doesn't matter if you're waiting for the software install and the person doing software installs is out to lunch. It's not going to happen until they get back. You guaranteed. So you have to accept it.
Yeah. And acceptance of something is different than patience. Like there's some things you shouldn't accept or you can't accept.
Right.
And require action and require urgency. Sometimes patience requires like a lot of compassion and empathy. Like, I'm being really impatient, but this person that I'm expecting something from, like, I don't know what's on their plate. I need to have compassion for them. And that helps with the patience. It makes it less painful because you're like, well, there's a lot of reasons why they might not be responding, even though I'm staring at this, waiting. I'm not going to put that on them. But again, I think impatience has some benefits as well.
Mel, did we get your parting thoughts?
You did.
Awesome.
We're good. I love it.
Peter, did you give us your parting thoughts?
I did.
Yep.
All right. Did you get your parting gifts? No. Awesome. Well, I think
your marshmallow on the way out.
2 marshmallows because you waited.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Who has marshmallows in their house right now?
I do.
I probably technically do somewhere, but I'm not aware of them.
I feel like that's the nature of having kids.
Yes. There's probably marshmallows somewhere, but I'm not sure where. And they might be gone. It's hard to know. They're Schrodinger's marshmallows.
Oh, I like it.
Excellent. And with that, I think I'll say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
So long, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.